Hello and welcome to Loot Level Chat episode 22. My name's Adam Cook and I'm joined by Mick Fraser, who is taking a drink, so I'm going to extend this intro slightly. Hello, Mick.
Hello.
How are you, mate? All right?
Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody back to the white guys with glasses, hats and beards headphones podcast.
Yeah. Do you know, I wonder if Chris White, do you think there is a podcast called that, or is it just all podcasts?
Hello, I think it's most podcasts, I think.
Hello.
The
How
beards,
you,
glasses and headsets, at least.
Yeah, that's true. How are you, mate? You all right? You feeling all right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
It's good to see you on the pod. I'm actually genuinely interested because Mick is, if you're not watching the video, Mick is drinking, well, I assume it's some form of lemon drink out of a hobgoblin glass, which is...
It's a hobgoblin glass, which I found,
yes.
in a pub, and it's...
Is it weak lemon drink?
No, it's Monster.
Oh God, that's so much worse.
It's right. Hey, I've been up this morning. I've done the treadmill. I've done the scrambled eggs and toast. I've done my medicine. Now I'm having a Monster to completely blow it all to smithereens.
I think you just sort of out old manned me there. Like, I've admitted that.
It's sugar-free Monster, and I've got a child in the background.
That's fine. Well, I don't think that's related to the sugar-free Monster. We're here to talk about video games, which some of these we had a week off, and we nearly had another week off, but because everyone's either on holiday, moving, ill, or too hot, basically. That's just me, the last one. But we didn't get a chance to talk about a game because of that we have sort of mentioned several times actually since the start of Level Chat podcast, and that's Wuchang Fallen Feathers. So we should have a chat. Now listen, I'm going to be upfront and say I've played half an hour of it, so Mick, you're very much going to have to carry this conversation unless Chris White has secretly finished it on the sly, which he does do with Soulslikes.
Yeah, no, I've played about 10 minutes of it.
Oh, less than even. Okay. But now we can find out if there's a reason for that, or if not. Mick, talk to us about Wuchang Fallen Feathers, the game we've hyped on this pod for like months.
So I tell you what, I don't regret the fact that we hyped it because it is good. Like I scored it an 8 in the review. There's been a year of sort of Soulslikes really. There's been quite a few. We had Kazan at the beginning of the year. We had an AI Limit. Obviously, we had Elden Ring. Yeah, that was this year. We obviously had Elden Ring, Night Rain.
Oh yeah.
I think there's still a few coming. I'm not sure that Phantom Blade Zero and Lost Soul aside. I don't think they're Soulslikes, but they're giving it the side eye. And then there's
I don't think Lost Soul aside is only because the developer, it started out as a solo dev. And he's like a massive Final Fantasy fan, like a huge fan of Final Fantasy, like unashamedly so. And I think it would be weird if you made a game that looked like a Final Fantasy, but it was mind you, there was that Souls-like Stranger
of Paradise, wasn't there?
Yeah,
and then there's Hell Is Us coming, which is absolutely wearing Souls-like clothes.
But it's not, right? No, I was going to say.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
You had me excited about that game, and then all of a sudden I thought you were going to pull the rug on me then and be like, no, Souls-like.
Because Hell Is Us plays exactly like a Souls-like mechanically in the combat, in the exploration, and it's just not. There's no enemies respawn.
But man, there's a discussion to be had here because, like, at some point, Souls-like replaced what I would refer to as character-driven action games. The Devil May Cries, and I want them back.
Some of those they are fighting back a little bit. I think with games like Stellar Blade, and then, like I said, Hell Is Us, they're not quite. Anyway, Wuchang
is a Souls-like though. It is a
Souls-like. It's absolutely 100%. In fact, it's more kind of a Neo-like, I guess we could say now, because I do think that if you've got two ends of the Souls-like spectrum, you've got the FromSoft games, and then you've got the Team Ninja games, I think, because in terms of quality, they're almost comparable to me. Neo 2 was amazing, and Wuchang, it sort of sits towards the Neo end. With it's got the same similar sort of loot. Like enemies, I can't remember now if enemies even drop the loot. I haven't played it since I finished.
No, I say we are a little bit behind in terms of what we want.
I know the loot's in chest. Sorry, and you get it, and obviously, yeah. So yeah, it's the Souls-like. It's sort of in the Neo vein. It's set in a fictionalized fantasy ancient China. where there's like the central conceit is there's this disease that has struck this version of China called the feathering, which it sounds a bit silly, but it's really cool in execution. So like people who get it, they literally start to grow magical feathers on their body, and they're basically mutating into like giant monsters. Basically, it's that sort of thing. Or there's a disease, it's turning people into monsters. Your character is Wuchang, that's her name, and she is a pirate. And she washes up somewhere on the side of a river, and she gets taken by some kindly dude to recuperate in a cave. And when she wakes up, she finds that she's got the feathering. But because she's the protagonist of a Soulslike, it just makes her a badass instead of turning her into a monster straight away like everybody else. So she you can develop like certain magic and special attacks and things that kind of harness the magic in the feathering to do stuff, which essentially translates into pretty bog standard Souls-like combat. Like it's a bit more dodge centric than parry. In fact, it's weird because I think I was about 12 hours in when it suddenly went, here's a boss that you need to parry. And I was like, I haven't parried anybody. Like I haven't parried a single enemy, boss, project, nothing for the entire game I've played so far. And then all of a sudden, and I knew I had a parry because you don't have an innate parry. You have a block, but the parry is like a special skill that you put onto a weapon. But if you don't want that on the weapon, if you want something like a spinning kick or whatever, you don't have the deflect move on your sword. So you can still block but you can't do this super parry. So it's weird. And then it's just like, yeah, about 12 hours in, it was just like, oh, this boss basically, and it was such a shocker because I hadn't had a tutorial pop up for hours, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, if you do this, you parry, and I was like, I know, because I've got it, but I just don't use it because I've just been dodging everybody like Wuchang. But then you go into this boss fight, and yeah, if you don't parry her, you just die. And it took me about 22, 23 attempts.
That's on the cusp of too many for me
to get through this boss. And I think that was the real rub with Wuchang, and that was the point of it where it started to lose me. Because I don't mind a Souls-like if it doesn't necessarily have a difficulty level. I know FromSoft will probably never put a difficulty level in their games, and I've played all those and I like what they do. I think games like Lies of P recently and Kazan have spoilt me a bit with having like a less intense mode. I still find that in a Souls-like, if you've got an easy mode, there's still a level of challenge there, which is comfortable for me because I don't want to have to spend 50 hours on a game to get good.
See, the thing is a lot of these games you've reviewed, and so I get what you're saying, but for me, as someone like just playing something like Kazan's a prime example, Lies of P is another good one because you can go to that difficulty level. I find, and I don't know if it's too early to test this for theory for sure, because like it's only just started happening in Souls-likes. But I've now found, now I've accepted and gone down that difficulty a bit, I can't climb back up when there isn't a choice. It is really hard,
yeah. I think that's
what bounced me off Wuchang so quickly, because I have been playing other Souls-likes on a lower difficulty, and there is a jump. There's no doubt. And I also, and we should say, Wuchang we got nice and early, so this is like I'm really like recess of my memory trying to remember this. I want to say this is one of them games where you can be attacking, but the enemy can just attack through you.
Yeah, but it's inconsistent, which is.
But I struggle with them because I feel like I want to be rewarded for being quick enough to get the first one in, but then they can just attack through you, and it kind of gives you that thing of just like two jellies slapping each other almost, like because
So it does. So Wuchang is quite inconsistent with it. So I don't mind a game if I play a game and it lays out that as a rule when I start. Like if I know, oh right, it's one of these. They're gonna go through my attack every now and again. And I also don't mind if the enemy is designed in such a way that they have like a red attack. Do you know what I mean? The red attack is going to go through everything, so you got to adjust what you're doing. That's fine. I find with Wuchang though that it's a little bit inconsistent, and sometimes the enemy attack, and I think it might be timing based, where if you get the attack in just a fraction of a second sooner, it won't interrupt, but sometimes it does. And I also think that the main thing with Wuchang, what lost me for a lot of it, and it became a slog to sort of get through, was that it starts off not easy, but it starts off quite sort of comparable to like Wukong in terms of difficulty. And people argue that Wukong isn't really a Souls-like. It is. It really is. Wuchang, Wolong, Wukong is a Souls-like. And but it's also more of a boss rush. So like the actual game itself, I found quite easy to play. And then the bosses, there were only like 3 or 4 bosses in Wukong that gave me any trouble. And I found with Wuchang, I was playing it and I was really enjoying it. And I was like, yeah, this is quite like not easy, but I'm at a level where, yeah, I'm dying mostly from falling off stuff or, you know, making mistakes. And then all of a sudden, this boss is the turning point of the game, in my opinion. This boss where she's super fast. She's faster than anything you've faced so far. She's fucking utterly relentless. And you kind of, it's one of those bosses where there's not really you know, Sekiro didn't have an awful lot of strategy in terms of, well, I'll try this or I'll try that. It was do it this way, learn this boss's moves
parrying
this
and
way.
Patterns, yeah.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Wuchang goes into that, and it becomes a game where if you don't learn this boss's exact patterns with exact timing, and you know, like it punished you for trying to take a drink of your flask.
This is like in the middle of the game, because
she's more or less, I say she's just sort of before the middle point of.
But that's a significant time investment to suddenly have a skill check against the player, isn't it?
That's what pissed me off.
If I was 10, 15 hours into a game and then they just threw a skill check that I couldn't do, I would be like, I'd rather you did this at the start. Like Wukong did that for me quite early on. It's like I realised that's a game about, you know, that it's not going to gel with me, and I'm absolutely okay with that, because it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means it's not for me. But it also comes quite early. You're not 20 hours in and you suddenly go, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, I actually did have that with Sekiro, because there was a boss, I can't remember the name, on a rooftop where it's multi-phase, and but it wasn't really more of a skill check. It's just a different one, because the whole game in Sekiro is parry, learn mechanics. You know, I think if there's I can't remember what enemy it is. There's a spider-style boss on the ground that just attacks you relentlessly with knives, and you have to like go, and it's parry, 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 attack. You know, and it's really rhythmic. But again, it's the whole game, like you say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too happy if I played 15, 20 hours and it threw a skill check at me that I was like, well, what do I do? Do I bash my... Because you said about 20 times. To me, that must be coming back to it several different sessions, because I couldn't play a boss 20 sessions. I couldn't do a 20 attacks on the... By the 6th or 7th, you're like, I'm just throwing now, because every time you go at it, you're fucked.
Well, I think the middle session was when I did the most, and I just got frustrated with it, and I was banging my head off a wall. And then the third session, I did it on the second attempt. So it was like I'd sort of reached that point. And the weird thing is, it's one of those things where the attempt that I did it, she didn't fucking touch me. Do you know what I mean? I'd reached that point of this boss fight that I think she hit me once.
I still had most from the Matrix.
Yeah, and sometimes it is like that. But then the exploration difficulty drops again, so it gets a bit mellow. But all the bosses from that point on were kind of a similar level of difficulty. It didn't take me as long. She was like the real skill check, and I was like, right, this is what it's doing now. It just came at a late point. It just came at a point where, like, if she'd have been like the second boss, like, yeah, it would have been horrible. It would have been frustrating, but you would have got through. You'd have got through that, and you'd have been like, right, now the game's laid out its stall. But it doesn't do that. I mean. It changes itself. And I think, I mean, it's a really good looking game. When I first loaded it up, and obviously we were playing pre-release, it was really choppy. They patched it pre-release.
Oh, good! I'm glad to hear that.
Really good. Yeah. I mean, performance wasn't 100% after the patch, but they did greatly improve it.
It was really choppy at first. Like, and I was on the PS5 Pro, and I was like, oh, okie dokie.
But I tell you what, the weird thing is though, is that the devs. So I think there's a weird thing with some Souls-likes where, and some developers in general. So you get the feeling from a developer like, say, From Software, and I know I keep coming back to them, but they are the premier of this genre. Like I
don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. I mean,
no. So when they set out to make a game, and I'm not saying that the From Software games are perfectly balanced throughout. I know they throw in some easy bosses now and then. And then some of them are real skill checks and gear checks, stat checks. They do that. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, exactly. But there's a sense that I always get from from software game that they want this to be a fun experience that you come back to, because there's so much replayability, so much, especially now when they've got the build diversity in a game like Elden Ring, for example, is immense. And I always think that what From Software are doing ultimately is we're making video games, and we want them to be hard. We don't want to give you an easy mode, because this is the game we want. This is our game. We've made this for people who want this. That's what I get from, and that's fine from a company like From Software that do that. But I find that a lot of, I don't want to call them pretenders, because that's a little bit demeaning, but they are kind of, we want to do this. We're going to do our version of a Soulslike, and they always change little things. You can always spot the things where they deviate. There's always, there's a bonfire, there's a respawning enemy, there's the Estus flask, there's this, and you can literally like palette swap and name swap all these mechanics, but they throw their little bits in, like the feathering, like the the way it does combat and the magic in it, which is great. But pre-release, the devs were sort of on record, and I'm not quoting because I read it quite a while ago, but the devs were sort of on record saying, "Oh, there's points in our game that will frustrate you," and that to me is like, that's the wrong lesson. Like make it hard, make it a challenge, use a different language. Tell me it's a game that's going to test you or challenge you. Not set out and go, this is going to fucking piss people off. I can't wait to see the comments on this.
Who's ever sat down and gone, I loved the point where I was really frustrated.
Exactly.
That was the best bit for me.
Nobody wants to be frustrated. The elation comes from hitting the wall and getting over the wall. I get that. But there shouldn't be an element in it where you're just going, this boss is just fucking unfair. And unless I learn every single move, and like I like the older FromSoft games like Dark Souls, where you could just cheese a boss off a cliff if you worked out how to do it. Nowadays they patch that shit, and that irritates me, because players should be able to find those ways around things on their own. And a game like, it is clever, and a game like Wuchang doesn't allow you to do that. It will not allow you to find those cheeses or find those secrets. It's just like, you're doing it this way, because if you don't, this boss will take half your health off with one hit and stagger you. And, God forbid you try and drink a potion at the wrong time, because then it's the second hit and you're dead. And you can go away and grind, but the grinding is, I tried it and it's fucking slow. And the improvements are sort of incremental. So I like the game. It's great. I think, it's a bit Stellar Blade in the costumes. I don't mind watching an ass run around a screen for 40 hours or whatever. That always kind of balances out some of the frustration, I think, for some people. It does the near automata thing with ladders quite well, which I'm not even going to describe, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. But it's a fun game to a point, and then it just hit me over and over again. And then like I said, the last probably 3 or 4 of the last 15 hours of the game were just not fun. Would
it be fair to say, like, the last, because I know I've not finished a Souls-like that isn't FromSoft. I'm not sure. Well, since Elden Ring, I'd have to check, but I want to say the last full-on Souls-like I finished, I mean, I platinumed it, so I loved it, was Elden Ring. I can't think of one I haven't actually finished Stellar Blade, if you even want to call them adjacent. That is kind of adjacent. But the last, like, this year's best one would probably still be Kazan, right? I think.
For me, yeah. I finished Kazan. I finished Lies of P.
Yeah, I suppose if you want to call Lies of, because Lies of P's DLC was this year, so I mean, if people are playing that for the first time,
that was a funny one as well, because they added an easy mode. They added 2 easy modes. So there's 2 now. There's 2 levels of difficulty before the original standard difficulty on Lies of P.
Yeah,
that's how far they dialed it back.
Shit, didn't Lords of the Fallen 2.0 hit this year as well? Well, that was
and I really wanted to check that out, and I just haven't had a chance.
That's excellent. Like,
because I loved Lords of the Fallen when it launched.
They have really pulled that game to. Like, I mean, it was never, like you say, it was never bad. You and I had a bit of a soured experience because it was patched like every other day during pre-release. And it was
the game you play now is not. The game that released wasn't the game we were reviewing. Let's be honest.
2.0 is genuinely like it is absolutely superb. Like, if people are looking for a game that's like, because a lot of them, like Lies of P's. I mean, I think Lies of P's amazing, but a lot of these Souls-likes now that aren't FromSoft do get like patched, updated, blah blah blah, and then you almost get this kind of 2.0. And if you want that like final, we have finished this video game experience, which is a mad thing to say. Lords of the Fallen is now and it was really cheap on Amazon last time I looked. I know Steve bought a physical copy for like 15-20 quid or something, and it is genuinely excellent. I mean, but so's Kazan. I really like that.
Yeah,
and
I think Kazan's my favourite. Of the ones I've finished this year, Kazan is my favourite.
Yeah.
And I say finished as in the main game, because Lies of P is still pretty much the best thing.
I will finish Lies of P one day. I've made a promise to myself one day. The game looks amazing. It plays amazing. It's now got difficulty options. I have no excuse. I love that game. Yeah. One day,
but yeah. I recommend if obviously for fans of Souls like Wuchang is a dead cert, like just get it, because and for those people who do, because there are people out there, and I don't know, I know it's a small percentage, but there are people out there who they play these games and they will play them for the no-hit runs, and they want it to be that level of you learn this boss to the T, and then you do it without getting hit. Like that's there are certain people that go for that challenge. They'll probably love this, and if they listen to this or watch this video, they'd be sitting there going, "Get good, scrub." Do you know what I mean? Because I am a scrub, but it's I'd recommend it.
Scrub is a guy who can't get no love from me. Mick. That's the only lyric I can remember.
But yeah, Wuchang, it's good, but it's hard.
Okay. Well, let's move on to another game. I want to say involves death because it's got dead in the name. This is a game I have downloaded. I really want to play, but as yet have not. But that's fine because Mr. White, Chris here, has played it. It's a game called Dead Take, which, just before we get into it, I know you know this. I don't know if Mick knows this. This is the new game from the developers who made Tales of Kenzera Zal.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's what's his name? He was the voice of...
Yes.
This
is not a Metroidvania at all, Chris, right? Dead Take it away. Dead Take it away.
Take it away. That's good.
There was a part, after I'd written the review, there was a part of it that should have wanted. There is Metroidvania elements,
right?
But it's such a it all takes place in this one mansion. So there are places. It's like any kind of Resi game where you see a door with 4 diamonds on you, oh, I'm going to get to go there later. So it's got that. But basically, it's part FMV, part psychological horror, part Metroidvania, I guess. And it's about this director, this reclusive director who quite controversial. There's certain methods in the way he directs and talks to his cast that have kind of leaked to the press. So they've all got this idea of him, and he's kind of become this myth as much as a talented director. And anyone that's worked with him, there's always been these stories that have come out about him being too intense with them, kind of hints of violence and all this kind of thing. But it focuses on, I can't remember the character names. Well, you play as this guy who goes to this mansion looking for this actor. And the guy you are is Neil Newbon, who famously was Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3. And you're looking for Clive from Ben Starr, probably most famous for Final Fantasy 16.
And Kazan, actually.
And Kazan, yeah. And you go in and there's something that the horror elements are all the thing that reminded me the most of was Layers of Fear, especially part 2, because of certain elements of that, because that's all about a film set and acting, and it kind of gives off those vibes. But another game it kind of gives off is Immortality. So imagine Immortality, but played through in a straight line rather than all over the place where you piece it together the story.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a straightforward narrative. But you go into this mansion looking for this guy, this actor.
Sorry, is it like first person? Like you're controlling
first person. Okay. So think gameplay wise, Layers of Fear.
Okay, yeah.
In the sense that you're going through finding clues.
Okay.
And you start to piece together more about the director, more about the main actor. And so Neil Newbon's like, he wants this role more than anything, but the director's very much like, Ben Starr is like the Brad Pitt, the main guy everyone loves in the industry. Everyone will cast him just because it's Ben Starr, or Vinny, his name is. So everyone wants Vinny in the film because he's amazing, and he's confident, and he's everything an actor should be, I guess. And you start to learn more about him, about your character played by Neil Newbon, and the puzzles you'll find that they're all very resi in a sense, which is obviously a good thing because they're all layered. There's also a lot of like right near the start of the game, there's this like room where there's a load of like paintings in, and you can interact with the paintings, and on the back of the paintings there's a load of like 4-digit numbers. And then later down the line, about an hour in, you've got this door that's locked with an electronic code, and one of those paintings is actually the number for it or something like that. But it's very descriptive of how it tells you to find these clues. It can be difficult. It's just a case of focusing on everything and remembering certain things. And I would say, if you're going to play this, write down every 4-digit code you see in this building, just because you're probably going to need it. Okay. But kind of the different rooms you find, you learn more about the director, and you learn more about his personal life. And early on, you find out about they lose a child, him and his wife do, like a very young child, and that kind of sets him off on this path to being this kind of recluse, this enigma. But you find a load of like mini USB sticks around the building, and there's this computer in like the projector room where you can splice together these clips or just load them on, and then you go into like the theater room, which is right next to it. You can kind of sit down and watch these like audition tapes, interviews, whatever, and that's where the FMV comes in. So you'll be sitting down, you'll be watching like the acting. Like I said in the review, like there's this almost like this thing with voice actors in Hollywood. They're not the same. Like they're not good enough, or you can't compare Ben Starr to Tom Cruise. Like it's not right. But the acting in this is exceptional, and it does just show that voice actors as a term should just be obliterated. They are actors. They're acting. Even in games that don't have FMV, it's. But anyway, that's a different thing. So anyway, you're watching these videos on screen, and you start to piece together more of everything, and by the end, like it does come to quite an incredible conclusion, especially with a certain famous video game actor appears, which they've already kind of mentioned in the cast. But yeah, it's just really good. Like the whole splicing together the video clips as well. So you'll watch one, and then you'll go back into the room, or you'll go around the building, you'll find another one later on, and you'll watch that. When you splice them together, they actually almost work as an interaction, but you don't know it at the time. So there's a lot of like efforts gone into making these videos work separately to the game and to tell the story. And like I said, the main two actors are Ben Starr and Neil Newbon. You've also got Alana Pierce, who started off at like IGN years ago.
Yeah.
And she plays kind of like the female lead in this film. And it's just the kind of the flow of it. You explore this mansion at quite a steady pace, and you'll see these rooms that are locked, and then you'll find a key, and then you get to go in those rooms, and then it tells more of the story of either the director or what's going on between these two actors, whether they're friends or not, or what are the correlations, what are the links. And it's just a really well put together game. Like the layers
it's not a horror. Is it a horror, or is it?
I suppose it falls under the horror.
But bracket, like not jump scares and like things smashing through windows at you. Or,
is it more unsettling?
I know we don't want to spoil.
Yeah. No, it's not about jump scares. It's like Immortality is a horror.
Yeah, fair.
But it's such a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're horrors. But then you've got films like Hereditary, Midsummer, which are more psychological, but they're horror. So it's like that. But it's 100% in that bracket, but it's more psychological than anything else. But yeah, it reminds me of Layers of Fear because of the personal elements to it, and it's more about the price of fame and like what lengths people will go to get that role, and it plays upon all like those insecurities, and that's why it reminds me of Immortality, because that kind of was about an actor who wanted to make it big, but she was kind of getting treated poorly, and it's just a very clever game. Very, I mean, it's not a long game either.
I was going to ask you that. Is it like I think under 10?
Yeah, under 5.
Okay, that's fine.
I think about 4 hours.
I've been on record before. I don't need every game to be 30 hours.
No, and it doesn't. It's as long as it needs to be. Like, it doesn't feel short. It doesn't feel too long. Like I say, the pacing's excellent, and the design of the mansion's incredible as well. Like those Metroidvania elements. Like you'll find this new room later on, and it's got a brand new mechanic that. It's not like then you'll use that mechanic everywhere else. It's just like a new mechanic that you use just temporarily. But what I like call it a mechanic, I'm like a UV light. You find a UV light and you use that to scan a room for clues and stuff like that. But also the sound design was excellent. Like not just the acting, but you know, there's games where the sound design stands out. Like remember Callisto Protocol, when the sounds for that game, like the clanking of pipes or the silent screams, like there's stuff like that in this where it's its own character. And finally, just kind of like the puzzles are really clever. They're very layered, and there's a lot to them, and you'll find documents to help you. It's not just like pull a box to climb on to press the button. It's so much more kind of deeper than that. And just as one whole game, like it fits in well with that genre of psychological horrors. We get a lot of games come through as penned psychological horrors, and you play them, and they're a dime a dozen. They're very similar to the last, where this stands out, and I think that caliber of acting really helps this. But if you were to take away the names and the FMV, it'd still be an excellent game, just because of the way that the puzzles are very like layered and spread out and smart. Like I said about codes you find ages ago, potentially will have a place later on, or an item you find early on will potentially have a place later on. Like it's just a really well put together game, and like I say, the actors, the story, the visuals, the sound. Like if you're looking for that kind of that game you can finish in an evening. And I loved it. Well, it was very good. And yeah, it's kind of all I got to say about that.
No, I really want to play it. I do. I genuinely do. Because it's slightly outside of my wheelhouse in terms of I don't tend to go for horror games very often, but I can usually deal with psychological stuff.
Yeah, I would say the people's general conception of like horror. Yeah, it's not a horror in terms of like your Until Dawns or your Resident Evils.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Like I say, there was Immortality.
Yeah,
Immortality. I think that
cope with a game like that. Yeah.
But not as all over the place.
By the looks of it as well. Like
very atmospheric.
But I want to play it as well because like Surgent Studios, I find them to be quite an interesting studio in terms of quite an exciting studio because it's there's not that many studios that jump from sort of genre to genre. Like
that's a hell of a jump as well.
Well, that's the
like
thing. And it's not. I'm not saying like it's a bad thing for say like I don't know, a game studio that makes a Soulslike to then make another Soulslike. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. That's the norm.
Well, there's normally a wheelhouse, isn't there? Developers have their.
But like, so this is quite exciting to me because it reminds me a bit of other studios that do that, where they just go from like the SteamWorld games. I mean, completely different, but you know what I mean. How each one's this is a turn-based RPG. Oh, this one's a card-based battle. I like it when studios are sort of because it really genuinely makes you think they're making the game they want to make. Because if they weren't, they'd just make another one of the ones before. But they're not.
Yeah.
They're making, you know, and that excites me just generally.
Well, the Lost in Random
yes.
guys did that as well, didn't they? It's a very similar thing.
Well, that's slightly complicated because I think the teams, like, I don't know, that there's like they were bought and then changed names and then bought, and it's weird. Well, I don't know if that's the same team.
There's that other developer, and I can't remember the name of the developer, but they made that fighting game with pillows. Can you remember?
Fighting? Well, pillow.
Probably called Pillow Fight.
I was going to say Pillow Talk.
It was literally like Street Fighter, but they had pillows. They used pillows instead. And then I
remember the game vaguely.
I can't remember what the developer, but every single game they make is entirely different from the last.
That's that's wild to think that someone would do that.
And the main kind of guy of the studio is quite like, he's like your Faraz. He's like a very individual character in the industry, but I can't remember. But yeah, this is so different from the last. But it feels like a game they just want to make. They're not trying to be different. You don't put all that effort into a game just to be different to you know, the press or the media or whatever. You're doing it for you, and it does feel like a genuinely, like, they love what they've made and they're really proud of it, and they should be.
Clearly has some pulling power as a studio to get the voice actors that you mentioned. And I know you didn't say the other voice actor. I know they have announced it, but again, big names.
Big names, yeah. You know. And they, like, when you play Baldur's Gate and Astarion is this camp vampire, and he's so much more than that, but like,
I know.
They're all great in that game, like the cast. And then to see him with this American accent in this kind of like cursed actor role, like, it's incredible. And Ben Starr again, is so good in it. It's so good at it, and like, it just highlights the kind of depth and caliber of these actors that have been cast. It's a really great game.
Indeed. Well, while we're talking about the hippest, newest games on the market, the game I thought I'd bring to the table this week it's actually really good that you're here, Chris, because in another lifetime and a long time ago, you reviewed this, and I was like, I never read someone else's review and be like, this is bollocks, I don't understand this. But it was one I was like, I just didn't get on with it like you, and that's Dying Light 2: Stay Human. And it was because I started playing this around about the time The Beast, the upcoming standalone one, got delayed into September from August. And I was like, do you know what? It's a slightly quieter period for sort of the big stuff right now. I kind of want to just have another go at that, because I bounced off it before I even got the glider. Now, I'm going to caveat by saying that, like, Techland are one of these studios. In fact, Ubisoft are the one that everyone says does this, but there are quite a few who do it that don't get the amount of I don't want to say negative or positive, but just
vitriol.
No. What I mean is Ubisoft will release a game that I think's good, but a year later they'll have done shitloads. Like Ghost Recon Breakpoint is a game, for example, people like now, that when it released, everyone thought was dog shit. They kind of get there in the end. And like, it was recently announced, for example, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is getting a big update in December this year with third-person. It wasn't a bad game to begin with, but it's getting a third-person mode, which is like super exciting to me, because I found that, I mean, this is Tangent City, but I found that game to be it's Far Cry with blue aliens. So
I really liked it.
No, I didn't dislike it, but it just felt like Far Cry with Avatar aliens to me, which is fine.
Avatar Cry.
Yeah, but the fact that they're giving it a third, they get there in the end, is what I mean. Techland have done this quite a bit too, and Dying Light 2 has had this kind of, I don't think it ever needed a redemption arc, but in terms of like updates, I mean, even recently got a Balatro crossover where you can, it's not much thing, but you get goodies and stuff. So it was like, this is, again, sort of talking about like the 2.0, this is like, they've I guess finished it, working on it mostly now, because it's all hands on the beast. And I don't know why. I don't know if my tastes have changed. I don't know if it's the work they've done on it that's changed. It's tremendous fun. Like, there's nothing about it that isn't moorishly fun. You know, I feel like the drop kick from Dying Light 1 when you do unlock it in 2 is more upgraded, and that you are just hoofing zombies off roofs, but not like if you drop kick 1, it'll knock that zombie back and take a 3 or 4 with them, and like you are knocking, it's also right. And I'm sure again you know this, Chris, but the nighttime stuff where everything's more scary and you're vulnerable, those chase scenes are still unrivaled in terms of the the tension that they make you feel. Like it is like you have to run to a safe zone to ward them off with the UV lights or whatever. But I don't think there's a button to like look over your shoulder. But you don't want to, because you just know and hear that these zombies are screaming and running after you. You just keep running, and it's like it's genuinely tense and excellent. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the upgrade path. I always like a game where you can loot everything that isn't nailed down. That's always fun. It has these lovely, like, it's quite a serious story / game in terms of what's going on. But I think it has enough levity in the gameplay that it sort of balances that out. Like, I love the fact you can have these serious moments and then you just drop kick a zombie and he flies off into a lake or something off a roof. You know, I think that's silly, but like they kept enough of the silly. And I know a lot of people feel like it's not as good as the first, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's where it's got to.
I've played some on PS5.
That's right. You were yeah.
So like when I remember reviewing it, I enjoyed it, but it felt a bit hollow. Like the story, the story is good, but it just didn't seem to last as long, or it wasn't like as good as it could have been. But like now, like playing it feels a hell of a lot smoother. And that movement's incredible. Like I felt like being straight back into how I felt originally, but it does feel that it's definitely been improved. And it is a lot of fun
as well. Like I know they've done work on that, and it helps that, as you say, it would have been would it be a PS5 game at launch, or would it have been PS4?
2022, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
it would have been PS5.
Both, yeah, probably both. Maybe, don't know. But
I remember
it's fun.
I dropped off it because I found at the time at launch, it always felt to me, because I loved Dying Light, the original. I loved it. I played it. I played it quite a bit as well. I think I played it through more than once, or at least I definitely started
that,
it
like,
a couple of and I think I played all the DLC for it. And I always, what Dying Light 2 felt to me at the time when it launched was it felt like one, but they'd sort of stretched it out. And because it takes a long time to sort of unlock, there's a grappling hook and a glider.
I've just got that, and I'm like 25 plus hours in.
And it took a long time to get there. And I think by the time I reached that point in 2, because I did get as far as the glider, but by the time I reached that point, I was kind of like, tired. I wish I'd had this 10 hours earlier. I wish I'd had this. That's
exactly what happened to me the first time. That's what made me fall off. And I remember like reading your review, Chris, or talking to you one way or another, and like being about the glider. I'm like, I never got the glider. What the fuck? You know, that was the thing they used in trailers and stuff. I never got a glider, grappling hook, UV torch. I don't even think I got the UV torch the first time I played it. But like, what I think, and this is what I hope they improve for the Beast, right? What I think they sort of needed to do. What I found in Dying Light 2 playing it this time is because I spent the first time and I bounced off it just doing everything all at once. I don't think it wants you to. You absolutely can do side missions, collect everything. I think it wants you to just do the yellow story missions and just focus on them, and then you will quite quickly progress the story, quite quickly unlock all these mechanics. But if you're like me and, there's a shiny, I've got to do a shiny, there's a side mission.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what it was, because this time, because I'd done a lot of that side content, I was like, side content, I was like, well, I'll do it again, but I don't need to do it again now. I remember that. I'm just going to do the story. So I got into the story. Also helps that now with the update, they've added a thing where you can skip the prologue entirely. So I don't know if you remember, but the original game, when it came out, you started off like outside Villador, and I think you searched like a little mansion-y type house with a pool or something, and all of this like teaching you how to jump and climb. You can just skip straight to I'm in Villador and I've met Hakan and let's go, and that helps. It doesn't, you know.
I tell you what, as well, like, because so spoilers for something that has since been retconned in a game that's probably 10 years old now. But if you remember that at the end of the first Dying Light, Carl Crane died, I believe, and then they brought him back. They retconned it in the DLC,
and you play as him in the Beast, so he's not dead.
Yeah, and you play as him in the Beast, so they've completely retconned it canonically that he died, but they brought him back. And because I think because I remember that the death was like a weird moment at the end of the game, because I think if you played after the credits, you had to load an earlier save, which I hate when games do that.
Yeah.
Just finish the game or let me live. Don't do the thing where I've got to now go back, which Expedition 33 did, which is why I couldn't go back after I was finished and play more, because I was like, I've seen these people do what they're going to do. And then, so I know they retconned it, but I missed. I know Kyle Crane was kind of a bit of a generic.
No, but I think they know that, and that's why he's the star of the beast.
And I think that's why, because people remember Kyle Crane from Dying Light. And I think that they missed him because the main character in Dying Light 2 is very much just a Kyle Crane analogy.
If you just call him Aiden, I would think, is this the same character?
And I know he's got a different backstory and stuff, which I kind of think you could have just given that backstory to Kyle Crane if you wanted to. You could have found a way to do. So I like him coming back in the Beast is something I really like. But yeah, I think that lost me a little bit in. I couldn't click with the protagonist, and sometimes a protagonist doesn't have to be particularly interesting for me to click with them. Sometimes I just like the voice actor, or I just like how they deliver lines, or because you could make him analogous to characters like P3 in Atomic Heart, who I hated. Is no different, but sometimes you just click with an actor or a character or a backstory. And I think that Dying Light 2, I lost a little bit with that because I just wanted more Kyle Crane, because I quite liked his story and his attitude.
I think I can't disagree. I think that's all fair, but I do think the gameplay of Dying Light 2, there's some, like I mentioned, the night running stuff, which is awesome. Also, when you're just running around really high buildings and doing you progressed your traversal skills so you can like double sprint, so to speak, and jump further. Like, I find myself almost holding my breath when I do these giant jumps because I don't want to then and crunch on the ground to death. Like, I think that I don't know whether it's like the way they do the movement and like the wind rushing as you jump or whatever, but I find that it's really good at creating this tension and feel of I am high up and I do not want to cock this jump up. It creates that, and I'm hoping that sort of stuff can return. And then if you throw in the sort of more story stuff that people want, like you say, Crane and that from the first game, the Beast also looks darker. I will say Dying Light 2 does look it's not like comic booky, but it definitely has a sort of more loose, sort of lighter feel to the textures, and it doesn't seem as dark overall. Like, it seems like it is going more for look at this fun world rather than look at this dark world. And that's not to say it's not blood and guts, because it bloody is, and there's gruesome finishes and stuff. But like the recent trailer for The Beast, where they literally just showed off 50 seconds of like executions, and it's like they called it a semi-red band trailer for a video game, by the way. Remember, this is. It does make me think, so okay, so it does look like this could be the culmination almost, and I mean, it was because of The Beast being delayed that made me want to play this, and now I'm just really excited for The Beast.
Because in The Beast, Kyle Crane he's like post-human sort of. He's got
something like that. Yeah, he can turn. I think.
Because it's funny because you mentioned earlier Far Cry, which I draw some parallels to, because no one remembers 100%. Anymore unless they're of a certain age, that the original Far Cry had a DLC or another version called Far Cry Predator. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because the original Far Cry was like you're on like an island of like, so, and then there was Far Cry Predator where they had. And I you have to forgive me for not remembering entirely, but I know it was similar game, but it was kind of like an Island of Dr. Moreau type setup where the main character got like superhuman powers, so you could sniff people out and you could run and jump and you could grow claws and things. And then they never did that with any other Far Cry game, despite the fact that was really fucking
Far Cry 2, they made it Malaria Simulator, if you remember.
Yeah. I didn't like Far Cry 2. And then the jump over from like that, Far Cry is the only real first-person game that I can remember off the top of my head that really leaned into that Far Cry Predator. And then Dying Light 2 did something quite similar because Aiden's got he's got a little bit extra.
He's half turned.
He's human plus, isn't he? Yeah, and it's like
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because it's normally the sort of thing that you would associate with like a fantasy game or something like Dishonored, where you've just got magic. But like having the ability to make your character not only like develop, I can put, +1 into shooting really well, but also to like develop their like parkour central, but then we'll give you powers to do this better rather than just like, I think that was always quite cool in Dying Light 2.
I also, I'll say it, I think a lot of time has passed since when, the Ubisoft Towers thing. So, like, I think enough time's passed now for me that, like, when I'm playing Dying Light 2 and I am climbing the windmills, they're climbing puzzles. Like, some of them you have to come back to with the glider. I really like every one of them. And I know it's stupid.
That's never bothered me. That's never been something that's bothered me in games.
No, but it does need a little bit of dressing. Like, one of my boys walked in and I was playing it, and I don't know how much you remember it, but so you climb the windmill, you do the puzzle, you get to the top, and you open the thing up to turn it back on, and he basically pulls out one of the cables, will go dust it off, plug the exact same cable back in, press a button, and it's working now. And it's like, even one of my boys went, "You didn't do anything." I was like, "No, it's an older game. Like, it's like you're not wrong. Like, it could just." But then, you know, does he
carry the fresh cable?
Does he pull a fuse out of it? But then you say that cables and that, like, so Chris, I never even, in the first time I played it, I never even did an electrical substation. So the cable stuff where there's more of that, where you get the cables and have to, like, one of them I had to swim through a like underwater thing, which did make me go, this is electric, but again, I'm not. It's fine. No, look, I'm not here to be like this brand new hit game, but it has genuinely wet my whistle for the Beast, and like that's gone from one I would definitely be looking at to one that's like I really hope that's what I want it to be. So,
good.
So yeah, it's quite nice that I've had a chance to go back to a game. I don't often get a chance to go back to a game, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's the most I've played of anything in the last 2 weeks, really. Speaking of games that are underrated, sort of, they were to me at the time, question of the week is from Thomas, and he says, what is the most critically underrated game that took over your life? Hello Kitty Ireland is pretty much all I see on my TV now. I'm a Hello Kitty widower. That is my fault, because his wife was looking for a new game like Animal Crossing, and Hello Kitty Island Adventure is really good, by the way, and that is one of the best answers for this question. But yeah, I'm sorry, Thomas, but can anyone think of anything else that's like a really underrated game that you just loved it?
Oh yeah. Oh, have you got an answer, Chris?
I have, mate. Yeah, but you go.
Am I the only one who has one then? Great.
No, it's what I bring up all the time, and I'll die on the hill with this, and I know that Adam agrees with me to a certain extent. But Too Human, right?
Oh,
Human. Yeah. Too Human was a game that famously got torpedoed by its own director. It's famously maligned by everybody.
For like sequels, threequels, that
it was like, I'm going to make like 7 games, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and it's going to be the best thing you've ever seen. And I think he compared it to other games, and he was he did a bit of a John Romero on it. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I did try it on Xbox. Because I think you still get it on Xbox, or I've got it on Xbox. I think I tried it a few years ago, and it was quite hard to play now. Like, it hasn't aged very well. But at the time, it was before I was a reviewer, I think. So I remember playing it.
That game.
And I just played it, and I played it, and I played it, and I was like, this, and because it was a time, and I hate to sound old, but it was a time before the internet fucking think tank was a thing. Yeah. So like, I just played the game and really liked the game, and I played it, and I must have played it through several times. The story was cool, the setting was cool, I liked how it did everything. And then I remember when I started to get into games and reviewing and looking at behind the scenes of stuff, and everyone really hated it, and I was like, why? Like, am I the only person that felt like I liked that game? And I played it, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I tried it again, and it was very difficult to play, and but at the time, that for me was the most underrated game that I sank fucking tens of hours into. Really enjoyed it at the time, and everyone hates it. Probably fairly. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased towards it. But yeah.
What about you,
that's
Chris?
my answer.
What was yours?
Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
That's the sequel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a sort of sequel, isn't it? It's not a full, it's like a sequel reboot. Yeah. We've got some stuff, so we've done it right this time.
You talking about Dying Light 2's traversal, like Mirror's Edge. It's the only open world game I've never fast traveled in. I just couldn't help. I thought the mechanics were incredible to get around. Like, I still think about that now, and I've thought about going back. But it's like, what's hard,
Yeah.
But
it's not a long game though, is it?
No. And it was so good. Like, the movie
great
was
soundtrack.
So good. Oh man, the soundtrack. Do you think you could go to your home and listen to churches on the?
I have songs on my playlist from Mirror's Edge Catalyst soundtrack.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So I would say, and that never got the praise I thought it deserved. But Yeah, that would be mine.
I'm really struggling. A series I've always enjoyed that I don't feel like most people seem to enjoy as much as me. I really like the Killzone games. Like, I absolutely understand why people don't, but I always like how the weapons in those games feel heavy, like heavier than any game I can think of. They feel like you are holding a heavy weapon, and I always enjoyed them for kind of what they were. Like, it's. Yeah.
I always felt Killzone was a series that always, for me, every game hit a point where it let itself down somewhere. Like, I always liked the shooting. I always liked how they looked. I always really liked the story, like, and like the world that was set up. But there was always a point in every Killzone game where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like, there was one that I think was a PS4 launch title where the game was really, really good up until a point where you had to like wingsuit. There was like a wingsuit level, which they later patched and made, achievable. But I remember at launch, it was like 90% of people just couldn't get past it. And that always logs in my head whenever anybody mentions Killzone. I always think, how was that game with that bit I hated? But I always I always liked the way those games felt and looked.
I mean, I feel like I'm stretching it a little bit because, a lot of, if I'm going off what you two guys have said and mine, these are series that are kind of gone. That you almost think I'd love another one back. And I guess with that in mind, I'd have to check about how, though they did on Metacritic or whatever, but I'd genuinely love in the modern era of gaming with the visuals and, smooth animations, I'd love a new Sly Cooper, man. Like, I think they could be so cool. Like, it could be such a cool, like, you could be playing, it'd be like, how like Ratchet and Clank now is like you're playing, well, you literally are playing a Pixar movie. I'd love Sly Cooper to have that treatment. I thought that series was really interesting and weird and fun.
The last one was Vita, wasn't it? Something Thieves. Sly
it was
Cooper...
a PS3 one. I remember a PS3 one. Hang on, is that Uncharted?
Thieves in Time I played on the Vita, so maybe it was on PS3 and they ported it to Vita. I think
it might have been, yeah. But that's a long time ago for a first-party franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of critically underrated, I always feel like I enjoy Gears of War more than everyone else. Like, Sly Cooper
was Insomniac. Sorry, it was Insomniac, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which have moved on. They did like Infamous, and now they're
forget it.
No,
Infamous. Infamous. Thank you, Mick. Infamous.
Yeah.
I'd love a new Infamous with the PS5
because I even
power.
like the last Infamous, which everyone sort of.
Last Light, something like.
I think First Light was the DLC to Infamous.
I think it was a standalone, wasn't
it? Infamous Second Son.
Yeah.
And then they did a Miles Morales type thing with
God damn,
Light.
man, those games. I remember they were one of the, I think the first Infamous was one of the early days of getting trophies on PlayStation 3. And I could not find that last fucking electricity shard thing. And I still to this day think it was a glitch because I scoured for hours and hours. I'm changing my mind. Infamous. I'd love a new Infamous.
Insomniac got some pedigree, haven't they? They did the work to get to where Spider-Man.
Also, I'm going to just throw this out there. This will never happen. This will never happen. I'd like a new Crackdown. I didn't think the last one was nearly as bad as everyone said it was. It was Crackdown. You were bouncing around. It was a power fantasy shooting rockets across. It felt to me like I
remember reviewing it, and I just thought this is just Crackdown again. And everyone, it's a load of shit. And I thought, well, the first Crackdown was stupid and silly and nonsense.
I mean, part of the thing about Crackdown was, I just want to get that achievement where I climb to the highest building. Like that's all you needed to nail, and they nailed it. I could boot Crackdown up now and be happy playing it. The first one.
Those agility orbs and
oh man, that would talk about collectible problems. Anyway, that's the podcast this week. We are going to do some little bonus fun stuff. As always, that's on patreon.com/looplevelchill. You can find that there. Just shorter form podcasts where we just have a chinwag about something or other. Do a quiz, have a laugh, whatever. Come and join us there. Patreon.com/looplevelchill, where you find our Discord information and everything else. Thanks to Chris and thanks to Mick for being here. And that's a podcast. We'll speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Ta-ra!